Hi there. I figured out this week why I truly love our president. And that's because he cares about all Americans. Now that sounds pretty simplistic, but think about it. He cares about all Americans, even in the way he treats people. He doesn't care that you're a celebrity or you're someone important. He's not trying to win you over. Notice who he has visiting the White House? Regular people. Okay? He's not having the parties that Obama had with the rich celebrities and sports stars. No. Somebody's got a problem, they can meet with him. And I think this was pointed out by Jack Brewer. Everett Brunson, thank you very much. He wrote a comment to my last video. And I want to read his comment, what he pointed out, because I think it's so illustrative of the difference between, say, Obama, who doesn't really care about black people. That's the amazing thing. When you listen to what Obama's been saying lately, does he really care about the black community? Does Michelle Obama really care about the black community? No. They care about being in their elite group, being part of getting all those Netflix contracts. They don't care about people. The celebrities, do they care? No. Do the academic elite care? No. This to me says it all. I did, by the way, Everett, listen to the whole video, that link that you sent, which was great. But he said, talking about the RNC, a Jack Brewer story. Back when Brewer played for the Minnesota Vikings, Obama first ran for the presidency. So Jack Brewer is black, if you don't know this. Brewer, out of his own pocket, paid for all of the furniture in Obama's Chicago campaign office. He set up a website for other NFL players to donate to Obama. As a thank you, he got a form letter. He was only invited to the Obama White House once, but he was asked to pony up $36,000 for the privilege. He didn't have it, so he didn't go. At the same time, he knows many folks who did go to the Obama White House. While they were there, they were told what they could say. Sorry, gotta have the glasses. Darn it. And what they couldn't. If making a statement for the cameras, the statement had to be pre-approved. Fast forward to the Trump administration. Brewer has been to the White House at least 10 times. Never has he been given talking points. Never has he had to have his statements approved. In one event Brewer attended, there were a number of young black people in the audience. A young teenage girl raised her hand to say or ask something. Without hesitation, President Trump invited her to the podium. He had no idea what she would say, but he trusts people. He wanted to hear what Jack Brewer had to say. He wasn't there to cultivate Jack Brewer to add to his power or mystique or whatever it is Obama was doing with inviting all the celebrities to his place. And this goes for all the globalists and all the actions taken that really hurt America, like the Paris Climate Change Accord, even though it gave China and India huge unfair advantage and really would hurt our economy and our country. Obama went to the Paris Climate Accord and said, yeah, the U.S. is going to do it. It's supposed to be signed as a treaty. That's why we never joined the Kyoto Treaty back in, because the Senate wouldn't sign it. But he signed us up to that. And that was just wrong. He apologized for America because he doesn't really care about America. And it's not just Obama, it's all of them. They don't care about this country. They will destroy this country. They will create racial divisions. They will glorify black criminals, and yet smear everybody else, all the black conservatives, they'll smear them. So, you know, all of this is puzzling. And many people, I find, they try to argue with them, or say, well, but you're not looking at the facts. These people are not going after the facts. They don't care. Once you accept that, they don't care. They just want to keep their power. Because, you know, this could almost be like a third world country. And they could still have their power at the top. Isn't that what happens to all third world countries? There's always a ruling class. And they want to be that ruling class. I don't think it's a plan. I don't think it's all worked out. But they're showing it. They're showing it. They don't care that all these small businesses are being destroyed because of this prolonged shutdown. For what? For what? No, they just kind of go along with it. It's kind of like a flock of birds, okay? There's a thing called emergent phenomenon. When you see a flock of birds, like a huge flock, they all seem to go together. It looks like a plan. But from the point of view of the individual bird, they're just looking at the bird next to them, and they're taking those movements. But the totality of it is this perfectly formed wave. But they're not thinking about that. They're just thinking about the bird next to them or whatever. So that's what's called emergent phenomenon. It looks like it's all coordinated and planned, but it's not. So that's helped me. That's why you get this hypocrisy of rules for me, but not for thee. So everybody was talking about Nancy Pelosi going to the salon. And I watched the Tucker Carlson interview with the salon owner. And I didn't catch this the first time I saw it. But the second time, I caught something that she said. Because it was clear that she believed that COVID was real, as many people do. People who listen to the mainstream media, kind of look at the papers, look at the news. They think it's real. They think it's dangerous. What really got her was not that Nancy Pelosi had been to the salon, because she said she'd been there before. What really got her was that she wasn't wearing a mask. At least that's what she said. She wasn't wearing a mask. So here's Nancy Pelosi, 80 years old. And this is supposed to be a dangerous pandemic. And she's not wearing a mask. Well, I know, because it's not a real problem. It's all to keep people afraid. So clearly, Nancy Pelosi's not afraid. Because when the cameras weren't on her, she's not wearing a mask. And that really bothered the salon owner. Because she said, well, if she's not wearing a mask, then why can't I open the salon? Because before it was like, oh, we have all these rules, we have to be outside, we can't do it. But she thought there was a reason behind it. It's like these parents, you know, they send their kids, if they go to school, if they have like a private school, they'll wear the masks, they'll go through all of this stuff with the remote learning, but they kind of believe that there's a problem. There is no problem, people. There's no problem. This is crazy. I was talking to my friend Julie, who works at JPL, and she would live in the dorms at Caltech. And she said, oh my God, you know, the first couple weeks at Caltech, they called it the freshman plague, because everybody would get sick. Everybody would get sick. So Caltech's closed down this fall. So how's that for science? Are we saying now that when people get together and there's sickness, because the freshman plague she talked about was just all kinds of things. Everybody would get it. You know, I remember when I was in college, I think it was mononucleosis. You know, that was spreading around campus. But kids get sick from other kids. It always happens. Are we saying now that you can't have that happen? And you're doing this for a virus that doesn't even kill kids? That doesn't really do any damage to them? I mean, obviously, this is to keep people in fear. And they want people to wear masks because if you see everybody in masks, you will stay in fear. It's so, it's so obvious to me. I kind of feel sorry when I go to the park, especially to see all the immigrants, recent immigrants, or they look like recent immigrants. Those are the ones that almost always are wearing the mask. And I think they come to this country and they're trying to follow the rules. So they're doing it for all the right reasons. But oh my God, you don't know enough to know you can break that rule. So I'm hoping that they see other people that don't have these masks on and they know they don't have to do it. So I'm convinced now, as a former Democrat, and there is an exception here, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But let's say the Democrats in power and why they are in power. So they want to keep power. I mean, look at how much they just love the power that this scandemic has given them. And to just bother people with these little stupid rules about you got to do it like this, you got to open your business this way, and you can't do that, you can't eat inside. Not letting people decide for themselves, okay? This is not the role of government. But they had a chance, so they just keep grabbing the power, and they don't want to let it go. They don't want to let it go. They don't want to treat the American citizens like adults because they don't really think we know enough. They don't really think we know enough. These academic elites, these government officials, they think we're stupid. Are ignorant. And that's why they think we like Trump. And that's why they think they have to protect us to make sure we get the right information. So they need to cut us off from looking at things for ourselves. No, we're supposed to believe what they tell us. Haven't you noticed that? I'll have something to say about that in just a minute. So they don't really see people. They don't really see that the suffering they're causing. Another piece to this puzzle was to think about the opioid epidemic. You see, there's no way to get powerful on that one. And yet it was killing so many people. I mean, I haven't come in contact with it, but knowing just the numbers of the people who die of opioid, like fentanyl, overdoses, inadvertent overdoses, depression, suicide. I mean, do you really see them being affected by that? Or doing something dramatic about it? No. They don't. Because there's no power to be gotten from that. But as we know now, the way to power is medical tyranny. So we have to be aware of that. So I love our president because he really does care about our country, about us, about regular people. He will talk to you. He will have you come to the White House. If you've got a problem, he's trying to solve it for you. He's trying to make this work. He's clever. He's getting more and more knowledgeable. being in Washington and being in that environment, and they hate it. They hate it. So they're trying everything in their power. Well, let me just point out something, because I know a lot of us get worried and paranoid. But try to keep it in perspective. I believe they're not going to win. I believe it's too hard. And the good thing about all this, I always try to look on the bright side. That's just the way my mind works. The good thing about all this is that we're becoming aware of a lot of what's been going on. Like I told you many times, I saw this with the whole climate change debate. You notice it's kind of quiet right now. Yes, they talk about the Green New Deal and da-da-da-da-da. But they don't really talk about it that much because they got this pandemic. But rest assured, when the pandemic rationale goes away, because they can't keep this up forever. I hope not. But they can't keep it up forever. When that goes away, the climate stuff, because that's another way to control people. That's another way, because you try to run everything from the top down. The UN's involved in that. All these elites are involved in that. You know, so they're not giving up any of their power or their money. But part of all the things that they're doing, it's not some grand plan, people. It's not. It's because a lot of it comes back and bites them. Like, for example, I was involved in women's issues for a long time, women's rights. It's just amazing. We are celebrating rapists, men who've attacked women because they were hurt by the police when they fought the police. These black men. I'm like, what? This, I don't forget what his name, Jason Blake, or the guy that was shot and paralyzed. I mean, he basically raped this woman. We don't care about that? Well, he's not going to be bothering her anymore. And transgender stuff, or gender fluidity. What about women's sports? All these things we fought for. What? What happened to the feminist movement? The real feminist movement, the one I liked, which I think we accomplished what we set out to do. So a lot of these things come back to bite. And these riots are kind of getting out of control. Nobody likes the riots. I don't know if you heard this, but like in Rochester, people were eating at a restaurant and the BLM rioters came in and they were knocking tables over. I mean, no, that does not help an election. That does not get people on your side. The best thing you can do is try to hide it. So let me point out one of the things I think is really, really important, and that is my goal is to wake up the good Democrats. Like I was awakened. I walked away. I love all of you. I really do. But I got a message from Skylar Chwang. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. But I was really touched because she said, you know, she'd been watching my videos, but due to the pandemic shutdown, she had a chance to do her own research. Did you start doing some research? And she said she was ashamed. I hope I'm quoting you right, Skylar. Because she had believed basically what the mainstream media said about Trump, that, you know, he's a racist or whatever, and all these bad things. But now she really likes Trump. She had voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, and so had her family. But now she and her whole family are voting for Trump. And she likes Trump a lot. I mean, I was just like, wow, this is so cool. This is so cool. Okay, once you get the information to people and show them how do you look at things for yourself? How do you get this information? How do you bypass the mainstream media? I mean, the stories they put out, okay. I like the way Patrick Moore put it. They make stuff up. They literally make stuff up. So right now, it's like so ridiculous that we even have to talk about this. The Atlantic magazine has like 4 anonymous people. They don't even give the person's name. So keep in mind, on the Trump derangement syndrome people, they are so determined to get him out. Believe me, they lie. They lie, okay? Because the end justifies the means for these people. So you have these anonymous sources who can make stuff up. There's no video or recording of Trump saying any of those things, but they said, he said it, he said it. And we have to talk about this? And this is that he was dissing veterans that were killed. I don't even like to think about it. It's like so stupid, okay? So they want to attack Trump on that issue. I mean, if you even read that stuff, but the people will jump on it. So I'm on all these Democratic mailing lists. So there's some guy running for Congress in Texas, and he's fighting for the veterans, and how dare President Trump said these awful things. So I can only hope the American people can see through that, because given all that Trump has done for the military, it's so absurd. But they will lie. You have to understand, they will lie. I've seen it. It's shocking. As far as I'm concerned, you go to the mainstream media sources, it's like junk food, people. Don't eat it. Don't read it. You have to know how to find your own information. And one of the ways I do that, first, whenever you can go to the source itself, like on YouTube, you can hear President Trump speak. You can see him interacting with people, what he says, what he does. And then you can get people whom you find over time that give good information. So I have certain favorites, people I follow, and as I say every time, you have to subscribe to Tony Heller. He is a wonderful source of information, mostly on the whole climate change thing, but he's also gotten into COVID and a few other things. Because he's a smart guy, he knows a lot, he's been there, and he's very much, I mean, whenever one of his videos comes in, I get the notification and I watch it right away. He's that good. Tony Heller. But then I thought, where's another place I can get information? And I realized I get email newsletters. So I get it from Breitbart, and townhall.com is a good one. The articles aren't long, but you get the headlines of various articles, and then you can quickly click on them. Because I was seeing a segment, I think it was on Tucker Carlson, where Breitbart was saying, if you do a Google search, Breitbart articles won't come up. The social media companies are trying to make sure you don't see certain things. And so I would never do a search on Google now. The only time I will search on Google if it's something completely non-political that doesn't have political overtones, because their algorithms will push certain things. So here's an interesting thing that happened. I cannot load Twitter right now. So I thought, but it doesn't come up and say you're censored. It's just, the page won't load up. But the rest of my computer, things load up, so I reset the computer. I tried to figure out what is going on. Well, one of the things my most recent tweet was a Tucker Carlson segment where he interviewed the lawyer of Kyle Rittenhouse, which is the 17-year-old kid, young man who defended himself and has been charged with murder in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And of course, he's been charged with murder. Just throwing the book at him because the Wisconsin officials want to placate the mob. That's my view. But here was what I read. So Breitbart, Again, I got this because of my Breitbart newsletter. And this caught my attention because of my own experience, because I thought, why? I didn't know what was going on. Because I don't have a lot of followers on Twitter. I'm not a big Twitter user. I think I have 600 followers. It's kind of fun, a little bit addicting. So in some ways I was a little bit glad it gave me a little more time, because I have to admit, you start and you just see all the tweets and it's like you're addicted. So I personally don't give a SHIT, okay? If they want to lock me out, go for it. But anyway, it says, Twitter locks account of Kyle Rittenhouse's attorney. So they don't want you to hear about Kyle Rittenhouse or any defense of him. They want to paint him as some kind of right-wing militia murderer. I don't know. What are they? Twitter has blocked the account of another member, so they've done it first to one and now the other, of the legal team of Kyle Rittenhouse. The 17-year-old who is facing murder charges after killing two thugs, that's one of my words, thugs, because they were thugs. Oh my God, the guys that attacked him, they had they were let out, they had child abuse, sexual, for minors charges or whatever. I mean, they were okay, you wanted people off the street. I mean, what were those people there? They weren't there for Black Lives Matter. I mean, they were white guys, but they were just like criminals. What were they doing there? So really, I mean, I have no sadness about them being killed. But they attacked him. And he not murdered, he defended himself. They attacked him. They would have killed him. And President Trump even pointed that out. If you look at the video, he would be dead, this 17-year-old. But then it said, this is where I thought, mystery solved, it's not my computer. Twitter has also censored the accounts of journalists and political writers who have tweeted in support of Rittenhouse. Hello? I just tweeted with a comment, retweeted, a link to the segment on Tucker Carlson's show, including the Gateway pundits Cassandra Fairbanks and Pedro Gonzalez, an editor for the pro-Trump commentary website, American Greatness. So all they had to do was have some Twitter algorithm that searched for anybody who mentioned Kyle Rittenhouse and just make it difficult for them to upload. I got no notification. So if any of you go to Twitter and search on me, you can just let me know in the comments section what's happened to my account. Was the tweet deleted? I mean, I don't know. I can't get on. I can't get on. I'm not fighting it. It's their loss. I would be very upset if YouTube did something like that, because I love this and more people watch this. But I'm saving more time. I don't need Twitter. But it made me realize that one of the problems with the good Democrats that are out there is they don't get this news. They don't hear this. I think I heard something this morning that somebody did a study, some academic group, I think at Princeton. Don't quote me on that, because I heard it in passing. That only 93%, I mean, they just make up. Depends on how you look at it. Reminds me of 90%, 97% of scientists support global warming or whatever. I mean, trust me, those things are bogus. But 93% of the protests were peaceful, or whatever. To try to tell people, oh, they're not that bad. They're not that bad. You're just not getting good information. You're really not. And it's your responsibility as an American citizen to get good information. You're not going to get it from the regular sources now. It's really quite shocking how bad it is. So my goal is to try to encourage, when I can, I'm speaking to you, John, my traveling buddy, try to look at some other sources to get your information, because you're not going to get it on the mainstream media. That means your local newspaper. That means anything related to NBC, like CNBC, of course CNN. Literally, they will make stuff up. It's a shock if you spent your life thinking, okay, I'm educated, I want to keep up with the news, I want to keep up with this. It's a shock. It's a shock to know this. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to spot a rhino. So one of the interesting things I saw on Newsmax, I thought, okay, I'm going to watch Michelle Malkin. And she's not really more my style because she's angry, but I like to hear her. I mean, sometimes people are angry, but that's not my style. And she actually was talking about problems with the RNC, things she didn't like the speakers, we didn't stress this, we didn't stress that. And so it got me thinking. For example, they didn't really talk about illegal immigration. They had a lot of rhinos on, like Nikki Haley. But one of the things I was thinking of is, because I'm very, very aware of this, is that you've got to deal with political realities. Like if you notice when you hear President Trump talk, like he said, everybody be careful, do the social distancing, wear masks if you're close to people for this weekend. Because he has to. He has to now. He's been so attacked. He never mentions hydroxychloroquine, even though he knows it's good. The studies are a lot there. But you don't want to ignite that battle right now. And you want to show that you're being responsible about COVID-19, even though it's over. And he knows it. I'm convinced he knows it. But trust me, it's very difficult. And you don't want the press attacking you on something. But you know how he feels. He doesn't wear a mask. He's not doing all that. So, and he took hydroxychloroquine as a prophylactic. So you know how he feels. But he's got to do that. So some people are purists. Oh, he's got to do this. Like Ann Coulter. She's sort of, whatever happened to her. But because he wasn't perfect on illegal immigration, I guess, she started dissing him. It's like, oh man, these people have never served in politics. They've never been in that situation. Well, I have, as many of you know. I have, and I've been next to politicians, and I've seen what they go through, and I've seen how difficult it is to navigate that environment. And from my experience, seeing how Donald Trump navigates it, I love watching him. He is so, so good, and he constantly is getting better, constantly. So his next term is going to be awesome. Because he's learning how to work these levers of powers, and he's very careful. So he doesn't do things right away. Oh, why can't he stop the riots? No. He did the brilliant thing of federalizing the state troopers or whatever, so that once they arrest the people, they can go to federal prison for the riots. Because the local DAs were just letting them off. So he's so smart. He's doing it. And I think I heard something this morning in passing that he might be doing something about that critical race theory stuff going on in the federal government. But I haven't checked into that. I'll tell you next week if I know more about that. So it got me thinking, and this is really about 2024. How do you spot an emergent rhino? Because there were a lot of speakers at the convention, political speakers. Who are the people to be wary of? I've got a shorthand list. If you want to hear it, well, I guess you can stop if you don't want to hear it. But I have a way to determine it, okay? First on my list is if they are in any kind of climate change group, and there are some of those in Congress. I write those people off. okay? They're kind of like, oh, I'm normal, you know. No. So, like Matt Gaetz was on that? No. Lindsey Graham, I think, was on it? No. So, if they're on that, that's bad. Because any of those policies are bad. I'll just say that for now. And the other one, recently, is that they talk too much about police reform. Because that's buying into the left's agenda. So, when Dan Crenshaw, on the day of George Floyd's funeral, where there was so much attention put on this man, okay, enough already, and he tweeted, oh, heart goes out to George Floyd or whatever. I thought, okay, I thought maybe Dan Crenshaw was a possibility, but no. And any super criticism about, especially to the press, about President Trump. I mean, working behind the scenes, trying to work something with President Trump, of course you can do that. But like when Lindsey Graham that time, about Syria, he went on the side of the Democrats and he was like, oh, this is terrible. President Trump is doing that. I said, forget you, Lindsey Graham. I mean, these people are still useful in some cases, like I like his defense of Brett Kavanaugh, but Lindsey Graham, no. When I say no, I mean no if they ever try to like run for president or anything like that. Forget it. And Matt Gaetz one time, he's also the whole on. I mean, I love the way he supports our president, but there was something about a war resolution that was clearly meant to hurt President Trump that the Democrats were pushing. And he was for it. I thought, no. I mean, maybe he thought he was being principled. But no, you are adopting the left's agenda. That was not the time or place. I like the way Jim Jordan said it. He said, yeah, I actually support putting limits on the president's power, but I'm not going to do it when the Democrats are doing it just to hurt Donald Trump. And exactly. So, nope. Never Matt Gaetz. And Nikki Haley, there's been too many things she's done. But I think it was important to have her. So for that mushy wing of the Republican Party, you still want to get them involved. So I'm not voting for her. There's no way. And let me also say one other thing. He's a very sweet man, a good man, an honorable man. But there's no way Mike Pence should be president. He's not tough enough. He's too nice. He doesn't fight back. And he would just be rolled over by the Democrats and the mainstream media. And I'm going to add a new one in terms of fleshing out the rhinos. And that is anyone that goes too strong on the mask wearing and buying into the COVID lockdown hysteria, that goes overboard on that. You know, I see them wearing masks everywhere. Forget it. I will never support you. By the way, I like Rick DeSantis in Florida. He just flat out said, we'll never do a lockdown again. And I thought, okay, you're on my list, dude, as a possible presidential contender. Because I want somebody like that, that's not afraid. I mean, I don't know enough about him, but, oh, yes. Let me just mention one other thing. When you measure something that you've never measured before, health-wise, we don't really know what that means. So I've long figured that out about cancer. I mean, when you get tests that can detect very small amounts of cancer, we don't really know if that's a problem. A lot of tests can detect nodules in places, but unless you know what those nodules are for, or maybe they're not a problem, This is what happened. Do you notice how people, I think this was maybe 10, 15 years ago. Oh, I have what they call it, a slip disc. You know, your back problem. I have a bulging disc. I forgot what it's called. Anyway, oh, you got to fix that. Okay, that's the cause of your back pain. Well, back pain is heavily tied to emotional issues and physical issues, but mostly emotional issues like anger, things like that. So there's a lot of books about that, and I actually cured my lower back pain using those techniques. But here's what happened. When they do MRIs on people, they found those, what they call slip discs. Again, I hope that's what they're called. Like burst discs, split. Anyway, they found it on people who had no back pain at all. And they go, oh, you don't have back pain? No. But they had the same problem. But see, when they went looking for it, they thought, oh, this is the cause of your back pain. So let's go have an operation to try to fix it. And of course, most of the time it didn't fix it. So the reason I bring this up right now is about the coronavirus cases. They had this test, and I think all this is coming out now, but I could tell right away, bad idea. When you were testing and you say, oh, this person has coronavirus, but they're asymptomatic. What the heck? I mean, maybe in flu season, you could go around and you could test everybody for flu because people have been exposed to flu, right? So their immune system, below their level of awareness, is fighting it off. So if you did a test for flu, you would have asymptomatic flu people. Doesn't mean they're spreading it. You know, when you have a cold, you spread it by coughing on people, getting your snot everywhere, whatever, touching stuff, spreading it. You don't spread it when you're asymptomatic. So now we have these very, very precise tests. So we're measuring coronavirus cases where people are not even ill. And we're calling that a case because we're measuring something that's never been measured before. Hello, people. You're not sick with coronavirus if that's the case. Okay, I'm going to close with another thought. And that is, this is a big country. It's the same thought I had after 9/11 in 2001. Because when that happened, I think I've mentioned this to you before, I was in Botswana. But when I came back a couple weeks later, I remember the Delta flight was pretty much empty as I flew over the country. And I just looked at how big the country is. And I thought about these terrorists and it was awful what they did to New York, but that there were so many cities, so many towns, so many places. I thought, they can't hurt this, really hurt this country. The only way they can really hurt this country is if we adopt policies that take away our rights, take away our freedoms. And in many respects we did. We've lightened up, but we really created havoc for a lot of people instead of really focusing on how do we catch the terrorists. That was my view. So I think of the same thing now. So I know a lot of you who follow the news, our news, and especially the ones that are doing the videos where they are investigating this. I think of Tim Pool on Timcast, and I really do like his videos. He's really keeping up with this. But he's just got this growing fear, like they're going to come for us, okay? These rioters are going to come to the suburbs, and they may. I'm not saying they won't, and we have to fight that, okay? But we're not at a point where everything's going to shut down. First of all, you have to realize that the more they do, the more people wake up. Normal people wake up and say, whoa, I don't want this. But the other thing is look around at your own environment. Now, when I first started traveling, say in the 1970s, there's just certain areas you didn't go. Okay, you had to be very careful. I remember in downtown New York, where you went, had to be very careful. Like when I moved to LA, you don't go to the Watts area. Stay away from there. There were just certain areas where the crime was too high, so you stay away. You knew those were danger spots. And unfortunately, that's what's going to happen in a lot of these cities. I mean, we got rid of crime in so many of these cities. I mean, Harold and I, when we go visit his brother Ben and wife Donna, I mean, we walked around downtown New York City at night, okay, by Central Park at night. We weren't afraid, but we wouldn't do it now. Of course, I couldn't do it now with Harold, he's passed away. But the point is that the city really got cleaned up. Downtown areas really got cleaned up. And so people could go downtown, eat at restaurants, be out at night. Look how great New York City was. And so I'm sure that for the people in Portland right now, they can't go downtown. You don't want to go downtown. You're not going to have a business downtown, okay? So there's just going to be areas that you're going to avoid. But I was thinking about that. Robert, my stepson, came over yesterday, and you know, we had this lovely walk. We walked to the Riviera Country Club and back. It's a 4-mile walk. And we do that in the evening, and it's at night. I mean, it's safe walking at night. So you will know where you can go. It's a big country. There's not that many rioters that can do this. They can create havoc, okay? But we're just gonna have to be smart. You're gonna have to know where not to go until we clean this stuff up. And people rebel, you know, what restaurants not to go to, what places not to go to, where to stay away from. We just have to do that to survive. But remember, it's a large country. They can't do this to all of us, okay? They can't. And on that happy note, talk to you next week.